Hello and welcome to another episode of MIA Podcast, where we answer the question, will Australian manufacturing ever return to the glory days of the 60s? And today I have another amazing guest, Cherie Lyden from Wholegreen Bakery. Welcome, Cherie.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. Now, one of the things we do with the podcast is we alternate between businesses who are directly involved in manufacturing and businesses that support manufacturing. And Cherie, you're directly involved. So do you want to give us a little bit of a background about your business and how you got started, what you do?
Okay, so I have a gluten-free bakery, a niche market here in Australia. And we do lots of things, but I guess let me tell you a little bit how it started and where we've gone over the years, starting I think 8 years ago now, and where we are now. So I was diagnosed as a latent celiac 8 years ago, and my youngest daughter a celiac. And having worked, I guess my trade background is a nutritionist. And having worked in the food industry for a long time previously, I realised there was a real gap in the market for good gluten-free food, particularly baked goods, and made here in Australia. And I think 8 years ago, in regards to gluten-free and gluten-free bread, there was a lot of factory made in the supermarket. And you know, there was a lot of ingredients in there. There wasn't a lot of variety, but a lot of ingredients that you couldn't pronounce or were very factory made. And you know, having given up, you know, beautiful sourdoughs and then having to go with this factory made gluten-free bread wasn't really wasn't something I guess I wanted to eat. And so as I started to look out there, saw there's a real lack of good gluten-free baked goods. And so I just put my mind to it and thought, right, so how do I change this? Because certainly I'm not the only one in this position. There is a demand for it. I knew, having done research, there was a lot of demand for gluten-free and it was on the increase. So I decided that I would start. In the beginning, I was just doing, through a friend's cake company, I was doing a bit of wholesale. And, you know, very quickly realised the demand for gluten-free, and also I was doing the markets, food markets as well, which is a great way to get your brand out there. And realised I really needed to have a store, and it grew from there. And, you know, there was a demand. Having a gluten-free bakery, you really do seem to attract everyone with a dietary requirement because you're a gluten-free bakery. And as a nutritionist, I guess for me, it was having something that was 100% gluten-free. And I'm saying in manufacturing, there's a lot of gluten-free out there. In bakeries, that's not 100% gluten-free. It's not baked in a gluten-free environment. It's a, you know, it's a very grey area, that whole sort of legislation wording around gluten-free. There's a lot of products in the market that are low in gluten or no added gluten. But for me, being a celiac, it was really important to have that credibility and to be 100% gluten-free, because I could understand and I can empathise with people with their dietary requirements. I knew how serious, the seriousness of gluten-free. So whether you're intolerant, whether you're allergic, whether you have celiac disease. So very quickly we became accredited with Coeliac Australia on our sites to prove to everyone that what we were doing was 100% gluten-free. And as a nutritionist, I also realised the other dietary requirements that come with being gluten-free. There's often lactose intolerance, soy intolerance that comes along with it. So from the one store we had in Waverley, we then grew to another store in the CBD, which opened 2 weeks before the first lockdown. So what, you know, it was huge to start with. We had a lot of media, the only gluten-free cafe, bakery in all of the CBD here in Sydney. And it was huge. And then we went into a lockdown and then closed for 5 months before reopening for 7 months and then closing down for 5 months again, and then reopening for now, 5 months. So it was quite tricky, but it was quite interesting. What it made me realise at the time when we had that first lockdown, if we want to survive, is you, like a lot of other businesses, you had to really pivot. So why not bring gluten-free to home? So we started home delivery within the first week of lockdown. How are we going to do it? Let's work it all out. And it kept the business going, to be honest. We were very lucky in Waverley. We're in a residential area, so a lot of people were working from home. We were able to do takeaway out the window. And yeah, we were very lucky. We were able to survive through that. It was tough, but we survived. And we also realised that home delivery became a really big part of the business. And in that time, we also, with COVID and what have you, and getting back out there, we were approached by Woolworths Metro to do bread, and that was just through customer demand, wanting our bread. Then we were approached by Harris Farm. Could we supply their bread? Because we're a clean label, we're local, we're artisan, we tick all the boxes, of which we do supply Woolworths Metro and Harris Farm, and all of New South Wales Harris Farm. And then we were approached by the likes of Crown Casino and other cafes and restaurants. So the business again grew to then food service, as well as supermarkets, as well as home delivery, as well as 2 sites. Waverley became very too small to handle everything. So we moved to a bigger factory facility in Alexandria, somewhere that was central to both our stores. And as we moved here over a year ago, 2 weeks later, we went into another lockdown, which was not great. And we had to shut the CBD. And then from that, I went online and did cooking classes online to our customers and beyond. To our customers and more than just our customers, really. It was around all of Australia into New Zealand, of teaching people how to bake gluten-free in their homes. So there's one thing I've learned with manufacturing is, whilst you can do one thing, I think it's good to, particularly if it's not COVID, floods, flus, sickness, staff shortages, increase of all your goods going up, is not to have all your eggs in one basket, and really diverse where you can. And really, whilst the business is going well and growing, certainly it's had its challenges along the way in manufacturing, particularly in the last 2 years as a result of COVID and supply and demand and ingredients from overseas. But to be honest, I saw that, I saw that 8 years ago when I started the business. There was a real shift in how people were shopping, the foods that they were buying. They wanted more local, more artisan, less mileage. I could particularly see that at farmers markets. And and I already knew there was a conscious shift then. And I think even more now with manufacturers having to re-look at the way they make everything sort of work, the ingredients that they buy, especially from overseas, to what they can use here. And, we buy ingredients from overseas, and definitely, we buy in pallets and things like that. And whilst we might have set costs in manufacturing, it's really important to have cheaper raw ingredients, and the only way you can get that is in buying in volume. So, for a small business, you can't do that, and you don't have the space. For a larger business, you can. But even then, even prices you've got sort of locked in, and with every supplier, the cost of everything has gone up, particularly fruit and veg, dairy, grains, especially from coming overseas, xanthan gum. I think there was no supply anywhere for a few months,
Wow.
and the price increased by 3 times the price.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So,
been tough.
yeah, and as a gluten-free manufacturer, that's really tricky. Where else are you going to go? So,
How
it's
have you
been,
find have you found that your user base has reacted to that? Because I mean, I guess um, traditionally gluten-free, etc., has been more expensive, and people that I've spoken to have been willing to pay a bit more. But
yes,
how far are they willing to go before
yeah.
they say no?
Yeah, well, it's quite interesting. We certainly see it's been very challenging as the cost of everything's gone up for us, and
Mm,
obviously we've got to pass that on to the customer.
yeah.
Yeah, we have to really rethink our products. We rather than having so much on offer, we might make that menu a little bit smaller and have slightly less on offer, but good. Make the products good, but have a focus on quality rather than quantity.
Mm,
Um, we do certainly see in the last few months, particularly with interest rates going up and all the cost of everything going up, and not necessarily everyone's wages are going up.
mm,
So we've certainly see some sales come down a little bit, and I think people are just watching what they spend.
yeah.
So we just have to try and be clever with what else we can offer that people love without, going too fancy or too premium, or because we are a premium bakery and
Mm,
can do some high-end products. But I guess for us, it's just having all those, supermarket sales might go up, sales in your stores might become a little bit less. It's just trying to find that right balance in your products. It's
now with
tricky.
with the supply chain issues, those components that you are currently importing, is there opportunity to have that grown in Australia, or are they very specific?
Yeah, no, none available. So
Yeah.
some things we have to wait. We have to buy a lot more because we don't know when the next stock might be coming in. Yeah, it's really challenging. A lot. There's quite a few products we buy here in Australia, but even here in Australia, we've had the same issues. Whether it be lack
Mm,
of drivers, what would
yes.
normally might be a 2 week delivery turns into a 6 week delivery. And what do? You're supplying supermarkets. You can't just go, oh, I have to pull the product from the shelf for the next 3 months while I try and get some stock together. It doesn't work like that. So you have to be completely on it, always looking ahead, always speaking to your supplier with, have you got stock? What have you got left? What do I need to buy? How long does it need to last me? And it's tricky. And I've seen also a lot of suppliers change from their, 30-day account to prepayment before any delivery. So
Wow.
that's the other thing with some of our suppliers as well is, everyone is feeling it, from the people that are supplying you to some of the growers to, yeah,
Yeah.
it's financially challenging all round.
Now,
Yeah.
something that's fairly topical at the moment is the cost of electricity.
Mm.
I was watching a podcast a couple of weeks ago around that whole looking at other for some businesses this will work, but looking at other ways to generate electricity, whether it be having some sort of you know some sort of backup generator that runs on diesel or solar, whatever it might be. How do you see the cost of electricity impacting your business?
Well, okay, so for us, we've been okay, to be honest, only
Yeah.
because we went to tender for electricity.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And I think when you are a manufacturer, that is the best thing you can do, because your biggest bill, or one of your biggest bills, is electricity, gas, depending what you use and how much you use. And when you go to tender, you can see exactly what the market's going to do over the next few years anyway.
Yeah.
So you go into tender when you're halfway through a contract, rather than at the end of your contract and you're desperate.
Yeah.
And you've just got to renew your contract. But you've got a bit of bargaining power if you can tender when you're halfway through a contract. And so I was able to get a really good rate that no one else could offer me by going to tender. And you can do that, I guess, when you're medium size, large size. So it hasn't really affected me as much. And I've seen, information come through. But that is something I think about, because
it's going to hit eventually.
you don't have any baked products. If you can't even afford to pay the electricity or the gas. I've seen the gas go up, definitely, but with the electricity, no, not for us yet. We've been lucky, but it's going to be tricky for everyone in manufacturing who uses a lot of power, which is the majority. Those big machines and.
Exactly. Now, are you looking to export? Do you currently export? Are you looking to export? Where do you sit with that?
Look, that is definitely something we will think about. We currently are only available in New South Wales and ACT. We would love to think, I'd love to think Wholegreen Bakery could go global. But I guess for us is, our product at the moment is a fresh product. We can do a frozen product. It really is what's important to me with exporting a product, whatever it might be, is I think if you're going to go to that trouble of exporting a product, you need to have, the space for it. If it's a frozen product, your walk-in freezers have to be even bigger than what they currently are, and that would be just another aspect of the business, of which we're already doing a lot. But definitely, you're always thinking about, what else can we do that can grow the business, whether it's here within Australia, outside of Australia, and then everything else that comes with export. So for us, there's logistics, and let's face it, logistics is so expensive. It's just another factor you've got to add onto it.
And unpredictable.
Yeah, very unpredictable. And and another thing is also is whatever it is that we might export, do we have the right flow wrappers? Do we have the right all the machinery that comes with that? So in manufacturing, you have to spend some money to make some money, and over the years, keep spending some more money to make some money. And just all the machinery and what have you need for your setups is very expensive.
Yeah. Now, have any of the government incentives, grants, I'm assuming they would have helped you along the way at some point?
Yes. The R&D grants are very helpful. Highly recommended if you're in manufacturing to apply for the R&D grants, but to find someone to do it for you. It's very long and laborious if you try and do it yourself. And you've also got to speak the right lingo of the R&D grants, which seem like another language. And it's very scientific based now. And we have someone do our grants every year, and it's fantastic. You really can, particularly for us, we're doing R&D all the time. It's gluten-free. There's a lot of things we're doing that no one else has been doing. So we're creating we're coming up with new recipes, and we're experimenting all the time. And to know that you're going to get paid for your time and efforts and all the finance that goes into it, including all your wages, certain people who might be doing your R&D within your business, like your head pastry chef, head baker, or what have you. It is good to be doing an R&D grant. So every year, those funds then go into to keep improving. And the reason why we do that is so our customer can have the best product we can make for them, but also to use some of those funds to get better machinery, to improve your processes and things like that. It's really important. And I highly recommend it for anyone to make sure you look, because the thing is, a lot of people don't even realise in manufacturing, particularly smaller business, that there are these grants there, and the government can be quite tricky for you unless you have you have the right people. That's all they do are grants, and they know exactly how it works for you. So highly recommend it.
Now, did you do that with Christina?
Yes, we did it.
Yeah.
Christina, Tech Abstract. Abstract, amazing, fantastic, very helpful. They speak the language, very efficient. I've been doing R&D grants with them now for 8 years. And,
wow. So for those who are watching and listening, so Christina we had as a guest fairly recently. I think she was about episode 6 or something from memory. And yeah, absolutely. I wanted to touch on that point of that whole thing of there's a lot of people who are probably in manufacturing who may not realize that they're able to get that R&D grant. As long as you've kept a paperwork trail and whatnot, you might be eligible for it, but definitely worth speaking to someone like Christina from Tech Abstract moving forward, because she's the one that will make sure that all of your lingo is correct, all of your paperwork is correct. So when you submit, you've got the best possible case forward. So just wanted to reiterate that to our watchers and listeners as well. But you've been with her for 8 years.
8 years, yes.
Yeah.
Tech Abstract. And another program which is new to me that I'm involved in is the Entrepreneur Program. Again, of industries. That's also really good, and they have access to other grants, government grants that can help your business as well. And it's a 12-month. It's free, the program. You just have to qualify, and then you have like a mentor in manufacturing for the next 12 months. And they break your business down. They create these what they call the growth maps, and help you increase your business and even export if you want to, and how to go about and do it. And they have access to the right advice of people that can come in and talk to you and give you this advice as part of the Entrepreneur Program. And then you can go from there. So that's also quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. Because our first ever guests on MIA, RMA Sport, they went through that exact process, and it's helped them grow significantly and shift their business to be able to then grow further and possibly export as well. So yeah, definitely a great program. I guess the other would be the instant asset write-off.
Yes.
That would help machinery and plant equipment and all that as well.
Yeah.
Have
a good accountant and work closely with your accountant.
So speaking of, now, are you working with a generalist accountant or a specialist accountant, or would you expect that they would sort of know this? Like, when I say specialist, do they specialize in manufacturing, or are they more of a generalist?
No, it's sort of a bit more general. They don't specialize in manufacturing. But if you have a good accountant that you can have a good relationship with and a close relationship with, they can really help you, and rather than being part of a big accounting business and you're just another company within, another one of their clients. I changed accountants during the business and now work with someone a lot closer and who has my interests, as their interest, and how best they can help me grow the business. And it's interesting when you have a manufacturing business. You really it's great to get advice, but it's also really good to have a good team of people around you that you work with. Someone who does your accounting, a great bookkeeper, someone who does your grants, someone who does this part, and just sort of keeps you in check along the way for your business, because owning a business, you can't have all the knowledge, and you learn a lot along the way, and just having the right invested people in your business. And I've had a wonderful business consultant along the way as well, and that was I can't tell you how that has probably been most beneficial to my business, was having a business consultant, come in and work with you and help you make decisions and goals to reach and marketing plans and get some business advice.
Yeah, that's incredibly valuable, because I think the thing that I always look at from that angle is that whole we're good at running businesses and growing businesses, but there's always that we don't know what we don't know, and that whole concept. Say you're growing from a 1 to 2 million turnover business, there's a huge gap in knowledge, experience, etc. that they've been there, done before. They've helped other businesses grow to that level, and they know what you need to be doing at certain points and what decisions you need to make. And great sounding boards as well. Like if ever you are just in a rut or whatever it might be, or you do need a bit of a push along, they're great for that as well. And
and just the basics, getting teaching you about your cash flow and scaling it over the next 12 months and working capital and this and that. And and I guess they also can really sort of pull you out of that mundane of running a business every day and look at the business. Wow, let's have a look at it over the last 3 months and this and that, and get you to see the business as a whole. And for me, having a business consultant has been a great thing. I guess it's kept me really empowered, kept going, and also makes me look at the business from a different angle, which you can get bogged down in the day-to-day, and in the doom and gloom of everything going up in price and how do I pass that on and what am I going to do? And they really come with some solutions and help you understand your business more. So I highly recommend it, particularly if you're small manufacturing and wanting to grow.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, the thing that when I first started running businesses a few years ago, it was that whole concept of, being a business owner can be really lonely as well. Like there's probably confidential information that you can't just be sharing to the planet. And, even with your friends, you can probably say it's a bit tough, but I'm sure there's information that we have as business owners that we can't just be like, oh, our cash flows hit this and I want to hit this and whatnot. There's a whole set of circumstances, whether it be HR, cash flow, whatever it is, that we just we have to just keep on board with ourselves. But having someone who's a confidential business advisor is that sounding board where you can, you can put the information in front of them and they'll help you make a decision on it.
Yes, they do give you confidence to make that decision.
Yes, and knowing that someone's out there is fantastic. So, look, what would you say to other businesses that are maybe starting the journey, or who are maybe have hit a plateau and are wanting to grow? What would you say out of your experiences have been some of your best learning points?
Well, if you are starting a business, it's particularly in manufacturing, it is a really challenging time right now. And it will be very interesting to see if the price of a lot of your raw goods come down. I mean, we've seen things go up, and I have seen through some of the suppliers things coming down. it's almost a bit of a wait and see. It'd be good to see, you know, where we're at in 6 months' time. So in manufacturing, if you're starting out, it's a really tricky, challenging time. So I think if you have that in mind, it's a bit of a reality check, you know, and really work on that bargaining of your cost of raw ingredients if you can, whether it's buying in volume or locking in some pricing, which is good pricing. Really look around to see, you know, where you can get things from. If you can buy it directly and cut that middleman out, I highly recommend it. It's more money in your pocket at the end of the day. The other thing is, if you are in business and you've reached a bit of a plateau, I highly recommend, you know, if you can get a business advisor in, even if it's not, you know, it's only for a couple of consults or someone who you have on a retainer every month or something like this, just to check in on, just to, you know, help you think outside the box. Because sometimes we can be so focused and really not think outside and think to ourselves, you know, why, you know, it's not really going anywhere and I might as well just give up. But sometimes just having some fresh eyes looking on the business and give you some advice and see some things that you haven't necessarily seen yourself might just then go, wow, okay, I've had a light bulb moment and I'm going to keep going and this is the direction I'm going to go in, or this is what I need to be looking at and thinking about. So your eyes are wide open when you move on. And what else can I tell you if you're plateaued? Well, you know, I guess really have a good look at your businesses and the products that you're supplying. And, you know, what we're going through at the moment is just, you know, if the sales aren't there, the sales aren't there. And really just starting to cut down and just work on quality rather than quantity, to see how we can, you know, help in labour. We changed our processes in bakery to try and make it more efficient. Automate if you can. If you look at automation and a salary, automation is always going to be cheaper at the end of the day. They can't call in sick. They can't get COVID, they can't get the flu, you know, which are the challenges. And I think these challenges are going to continue, you know, for quite some time yet. Yeah, and I guess, yeah, look at your products, see if you can go local with, you know, a lot of your raw ingredients. Not knowing what the world's doing and the shippings and the everything else, because you know, it's a real fine line with having a profitable business or just fine line with just trying to keep up with all the costs and what can you pass on to the customer. And you know, if you can still continue to run your business as profitable, or maybe you just have to look at, you know, being more efficient. So just have a look at in this challenging time, because yeah, unless wages go up dramatically, you know, people are really starting to watch what they spend and shop differently, and you just have to see what people are doing, and don't wait too long to make some changes. You know, just make some small changes and work towards what the future might be doing. It'd be great. And you can see, you know what I mean, of what's going to happen that we don't know.
That is a really important point, Ashley, is that be willing to make changes early. And I'm guessing this is where, for you, that business advisor is that great sounding board of being able to see what are the predictors and what are the patterns that they can see as well. You know, for an example, say I was lucky enough to interview my dad for the MIA podcast a couple of weeks ago. He spent, almost 50 years in manufacturing, and he could always predict a recession, because they used to sell electric motors, like big commercial electric motors, and as excuse me, sales started to drop, they would be a lot of local businesses used motors in their products. So sales started to drop. It'd be about a 2-year gap. And he'd always come home and he'd say, yep, we're going to have a recession in a couple of years. And sure enough, almost to the minute, you could predict it. So having someone like that, that I know at the moment it's really all over the shop, and I feel like economies are self-correcting, and other parts of the economy are going berserk, and the labor market's self-correcting, inflation, there's so many unpredictables going on at the moment. There's a lot of spanners flying around. It's a very, very chaotic environment, but I suspect there's probably some indicators somewhere that you can have a bit of a crystal ball in it at least. And if you make a decision's better than no decisions. So yeah, I hear you. Yes.
Yeah, you have to be open to change, and I think I learned that with the first COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
If you didn't change right there and then, you're in trouble.
Yes.
And it was a bit of a sink or swim, position that I think a lot of businesses were put into with that first COVID lockdown, and not knowing how long this was going to go on for, and it went on for months.
Yeah.
So if we didn't make any changes, it would have been very tricky for us. And but the change was good. The change was good, and we went back. So some great things for us have come out of COVID and what that has done. But at the same time, it's been very challenging, and the challenges remain. I'm seeing the cost of goods rising all the time, and then there's the logistics and petrol levies and everything else. It's like, well, what now? And then I have no staff. Great, what now? It's really tricky, really challenging, and you just have to keep a brave face and see how you can keep your business afloat and keep it going. And what else can I do? What do I need to do?
Yeah, and I think we can agree. Like, as business owners, I've never met a business owner where they just sit back and everything just goes great for 5-10 years straight. We're always hit with big challenges. It's probably why we like doing it. We love solving problems and being creative with problems and whatnot. But it's just something that we're good at, and we've always just got to be prepared for the next big challenge, don't we?
Yes, we do. We absolutely do. And
helps us grow as human beings, ultimately.
Yeah. Have a heart attack along the way, or
I know. I think the whole human race has had the universe is giving a few people, half the planet or most of the planet, wake up calls at the moment, just to, whether it's a step up thing, whatever it is, but we're all having to step up at the moment, which is really tough. But I think we'll look back in 10 years and go, wow, look how much we grew. So we shall see.
Yes, we shall see.
Well, thank you very, very much for joining us, Cherie. It's been, I think, fantastic learning about your business. Super excited to see what the next couple of years hold for you as well. Just in terms of where the industry heads, where your supply chains head and whatnot as well, and how that helps you with your business as well. It's a business that is very important in terms of providing a service to the market. Like, there's some business out there that are sometimes, some people could say, a bit more fluffy, but yours, I would say, yours is a very, very important one for serving a very important purpose as well.
Yes. Yeah, look, we're going to be opening our third store here in Alexandria next month. We're going to go back to start doing our online cooking classes. See, there's another thing we had to do in COVID. I've got a cookbook coming out in April with Murdoch, which is an international cookbook on baked goods and how to make gluten-free in your own home. So again, there's lots of things that are happening with the business, and hopefully all good marketing that comes back to the business, and lots can happen from manufacturing. Lots of opportunities can arise, and I'm a big believer there's opportunities all the time. It's just completely up to you to take them or not, and how you think, if you take that opportunity, how it can help your business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be present to them. Yes. Well, thank you very much again. Like I said, we'd love to check in at some point in the future just to see how everything's going for you, and see where you are along your journey as well.
Great. Yeah, I look forward to it. Thanks for having me on today, John.
Absolute pleasure, Cherie. And we shall see, for those that are watching and listening, we'll see you in our next episode. Keep watching, and thank you for coming along.
Great. Thanks.